We have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family.
Imagine a courtroom scene, the stakes are high, and in the center of it, we have none other than Donald Trump Jr. stepping up once again to face the heat. It's not just another day at the office for Don Jr. Oh no, today's different. As he walks into court, the chants outside are hard to ignore. Crime family, crime family. Can you hear it? That's the sound of protest, but also perhaps the sound of a truth that's hard to escape. This isn't a typical trial. It's a trial that's about to go viral. Stick around because this is just the beginning of what turns into a bigger spectacle than anyone could have expected.
The other side of humanity's coin, we have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, a very dumb crime family, the Gambozos, if you will, and Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment, he said his father is an artist with real estate.
Don Jr., under oath, makes a statement that shocks the room in a $250 million fraud trial where every word could cost millions. Don Jr. calls his father an artist. Yes, you heard that right, a real estate artist. Is this courtroom comedy or is it a defense strategy? Whatever it is, it's working for the headlines. But is this really what a defense looks like? Did we just hear someone describe their father as an artist under the weight of legal pressure? And what does Jimmy Kimmel have to say about all this?
I'm not supposed to rely on a big five accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors. Right? Do you understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy.
I'm a business guy who had his elbows soldered together, and now...
Enter Jimmy Kimmel. You see, Kimmel doesn't need to twist the facts. He doesn't have to exaggerate anything. The legal defense speaks for itself. But then Jimmy, with his razor-sharp wit, takes that very statement and turns it into pure gold. Should we trust experts? He asks. What if patients just blindly trusted their doctors? Could they be blamed for that? The logic is simple, but the punchline hits hard. Suddenly, the courtroom drama turns into late-night entertainment. Don Jr., always the businessman, tries to hold his ground. But let's face it, he's on shaky ground. He doesn't exactly have a master's degree in accounting, and his defense sounds like someone trying to justify a bad business deal. The problem is, the more he talks, the more the audience realizes he's not just defending his father, he's defending a whole system of logic that doesn't hold water.
I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. What he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma, so.
The audience isn't just watching. Every word he says feeds into the spectacle. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash. Now, here's where the plot thickens. You thought it couldn't get worse, right? But it does. Just when you think Don Jr. is the biggest joke, the spotlight shifts to his father, former President Donald Trump. He's faced with a new nickname, Taco. Yep, you read that right.
The only thing that would make it worse is if somebody changed the lyrics to a song by his beloved Village People to drive it home.
Taco, taco man. I want to be a taco man.
We got Taco Man instead. This could be the new YMCA. They can play it at rallies. You can do TACO. Right?
Taco, an acronym for Trump always chickens out. And what does he do? He doesn't laugh it off. Instead, he escalates, he gets defensive. And then Jimmy Kimmel, ever the master of timing, gives us the most hilarious remix of the moment, Taco Man. Catchy, right? What started as a throwaway joke quickly became the anthem of the moment. The internet is quick to pick up on the meme. The nickname doesn't die, it evolves. Soon, it's everywhere. AI-generated images flood social media. Trump, now Taco Man, takes over the digital landscape. It's like a new era of comedy. From chicken armor to Taco Trump, what could be better? The real magic here, the name sticks. People aren't just laughing, they're creating. And the more they create, the more this nickname becomes part of the collective consciousness.
Yesterday, he blew up at a reporter because she asked him about a new nickname that's been making the rounds on Wall Street. They're calling him Taco, which is an acronym for Trump always chickens out. Taco. He doesn't like the nickname at all. She asked it, he called it a nasty question, but it seems there's been an outpouring of taco-themed AI on social media featuring our Crunchwrap Supreme Leader in all manner of chicken garb, rooster hair, and this master five-piece family meal, all in celebration of our El Pollo Loco.
Now, Trump's response to all of this, it's pure gold. He blows up at a reporter for asking about Taco. It's as if the name triggered a full-on meltdown. That's a nasty question, he shouts.
You call that chickening out? 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation, but don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
Meanwhile, the Taco memes keep coming. The more he resists, the more it sticks. He can't shake it off. From Taco Man to Crunchwrap Supreme Leader, his public image just keeps getting wilder. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel's laughing all the way to the bank. But the jokes don't stop there. Fast forward a bit, and we find out Trump's team didn't just stop at calling out Jimmy on Twitter. Oh no, they went all the way to Disney. Yes, you heard that right. Trump's White House back in the day placed calls to Disney, telling them to rein Jimmy in. Talk about taking your grievances to the highest level, right? Imagine that. The most powerful man in the world using his power not for diplomacy, but to stop a late-night host from cracking jokes. But here's the thing. The more Trump fights to control the narrative, the more the narrative slips from his grasp. Jimmy didn't just make a joke, he turned it into a statement about power, ego, and the way those in power react to criticism. Whether it's a taco joke or a courtroom disaster, Trump's inability to laugh at himself turns his attempts at controlling the media into the fuel for more jokes. In the end, it's not about a taco, it's about how power handles mockery, and it's all playing out in real time.
But according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
Let's zoom out for a second. We're not just talking about a joke or a nickname or even a tantrum. What we're witnessing here is something much larger, something that goes beyond Donald Trump Jr. or even his father. This is about how power responds when it's questioned, and not just any power, but the kind that can shape the direction of a country. When you're at the top, like Trump was, you expect control. You expect to be able to dictate the narrative, but here's the problem. Control can be a fragile thing. When you allow yourself to become the target of ridicule, when you take offense at every joke, every comment, every meme, you give away more than just a moment of your ego. You give away your control.
Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House. And I had like 80 texts when I woke up sending me this article from Rolling Stone. It says, Trump White House pressured Disney to censor Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Disney is the company that owns ABC, our network, and Jimmy Kimmel is me.
Look at the response. Trump doesn't just laugh it off. He doesn't just acknowledge the joke and move on. Instead, he escalates. He calls it a nasty question. He calls in the White House staff, and he tries to silence Jimmy Kimmel. This isn't just a late-night skirmish. This is a man who can't handle the spotlight shining on his flaws. The moment he tried to muzzle the media, he didn't just lose the narrative, he turned the spotlight right back on himself. And what does that do? It turns a small moment into a larger story. It turns Taco Man from an inside joke into an internet sensation. It turns a nickname into a symbol of weakness. That's the irony. By reacting the way he did, he made the joke bigger. He made it stick.
Wow, what a plot twist. The first time Donald Trump ever tries to stop someone from talking about him on television, and it's me. Usually when he wants somebody to stop talking about him, he pays them $130,000, but he wanted me to do it for nothing. I wonder what it was. I also want to point out the Oscars were more than 6 months ago. He's still stewing over this joke. He keeps bringing it up, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I love it. I just wish he would quote it correctly. I didn't say, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me.
Jimmy Kimmel is every night, he hits me, I guess. His ratings are terrible. He's not a talented guy. I hear he hits me all the time, so I figured I'd hit him because I thought he was a lousy host.
See if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time? I guess I should be honored that the former president of the United States took time out of his busy schedule Googling Ivanka in bikini to rant about me, but...
Now, let's talk about power. What happens when those in power can't take a joke? What happens when they treat every criticism as an attack? Well, we're seeing it right now. The pattern is clear. Trump isn't the first to react this way, but his reaction was so visible, so public, that it became a case study. Here's the thing. In a free society, criticism is meant to be a check on power. It's meant to be uncomfortable, sure, but it's also necessary. In a democracy, scrutiny isn't sabotage. It's survival. It's the foundation of accountability. If you can't withstand a joke, if you can't handle a little bit of ridicule, then maybe you're not fit for the job. And the world is watching. The world is paying attention to how those in charge react when things don't go their way. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about one man's ego. It's about how power reacts to the pressure of transparency. When those who hold power treat satire like subversion, when they see every jest as a betrayal, that's when things start to get dangerous. Because the real danger lies in the overreaction, the overreach, the feeling that power can't be questioned.
See, we have a new round of randomly levied tariffs. This morning, the White House doubled tariffs on aluminum and steel. Well, he did promise to stop the steal. And the president has now slapped a 50% tariff on metals. Experts say higher prices for us are inevitable. We should expect to pay more for construction, for cars, even appliances. He's taking us to the cleaners. Literally, soon we will not be able to afford a washer or dryer. There's no plan. Unless you consult the MAGAverse, in which case there is and was definitely a plan.
I think he's had a plan all along, David, and I think we're seeing it play out.
This was his strategy all along.
This was the plan all along.
Was that his plan all along? It certainly looks like it.
This is the plan that he was pursuing all along.
I mean, you're watching the art of the deal in real time here.
Well, if that was the plan, congratulations, because in 1 week, the plan lost $6 trillion, and every country in the world hates us now.
Now let's think about the bigger implications. If a president or any leader can't handle jokes, what does that say about the system? What does that mean for freedom of speech, for the press, for comedians who are the first line of defense in holding power accountable? It means we're in dangerous waters. And that's the real punchline here. We laugh, sure, but beneath that laughter, there's a serious question. How far are we willing to let those in power go to protect their fragile egos? Look at the broader context. From the White House phone calls to Disney, to the Supreme Court hearings, to trade wars that hurt the country's economy, these are all pieces of a larger puzzle. Trump's tantrums didn't stop at late-night comedy. They rippled out into every corner of American life. His overreactions fueled divisions, deepened distrust, and made it harder for any real conversation to happen. When a leader reacts this way, it creates chaos. It creates a vacuum where reason is replaced by emotion, and decisions are made based on how they feel, not what's best for the country. So what are we left with? A system that is teetering on the edge of collapse because the people in charge can't handle the pressure. The jokes, the memes, they're just the beginning. Beneath the surface is a political system where power isn't questioned, where dissent is punished, and where the truth is often sacrificed for the sake of preserving an image. This is what happens when egos collide with democracy. It's not pretty, and it's certainly not sustainable. In the end, we have to ask ourselves, how do we want to handle criticism? How do we want our leaders to respond when their flaws are exposed? Do we want them to retaliate? Or do we want them to be strong enough to laugh, to learn, and to grow? Because in a world where control slips away with every overreaction, the real survival skill is the ability to take a joke and maybe even learn from it. So as you watch this saga unfold, remember, it's not just about Taco Man, it's about power, ego, and the survival of democracy itself. And as this story continues to evolve, one thing's for sure, the jokes won't stop, the scrutiny won't stop, and neither should we.